I like the plastic bag idea. They're a lot less costly than the buckets, and thinking on it, I did come up with a system here. I think I first started using these around 2000 or 2003, and I ended up making a holder here out of a piece of PVC pipe, and I can kind of explain what the different size holes are in that for in a second. But then I hold it on with just a regular hose clamp, and it worked out pretty well. And this is a Tridon hose clamp. I believe that's the way you pronounce it. These were made in U.S. and like I said, I got these probably, oh man, 20 years ago at least. Spin it out with the drill, and I can see what size that is. And basically, this is a 2-inch PVC, a little larger than on the outside. You got to have some room for the bag, and you got to have some of those nimble fingers to kind of crunch that bag down, slide it on. But it doesn't take too much then to put that on there and adjust your drill so it gives you good tension. I have had probably maybe 2 or 3 out of 500 when I got them tapped in that'll actually slide off of this, but you can kind of test that and see. You put, you got 4 gallons of sap in there at about, 7-8 pounds a gallon. So you got about maybe 30 pounds. If you can put that much pressure on there and it doesn't come off, then you're good. So that's kind of what I've been doing here for the last, I suppose, 20 years on the plastic bags, and they worked out really well. I don't need a cover on them. They're small enough so that they don't catch any rain in there. The main rainwater will come in through your spile, as it runs down the bark of the tree. It'll sometimes get in there that way, but that's going to happen if you got a cover on anyway, unless you got a gasket or something. So anyway, these have worked out really well. They dump out pretty fast. I can't show an example of that right here, but I've got some videos that I've got of these things being used in the sugar bush, so we'll show you some of those. I've used a variety of spiles with these over the course of the years. Now I'm using this window 5/16. They call it Tree Saver. I think this one says made in Canada, and it says Leader on it, so we've had those for quite a while. When I first drilled a larger hole in there, I was using actually a plastic spile, something like this that came years ago, and I had this thing set at a small angle down, of course, tapped it in, and I set it right side up like this, I guess, or opposite of what you do if you're using tubing on it. And I had the larger hole in it because that way my bag would fit over like that, and they hung on the tree pretty well. The problem with this is these spiles aren't all that solid, and they'll tend to bend some. They'll actually bow down, but normally speaking they'll stay on the tree. And if you put it this way, it doesn't take too much for the wind to blow that off, and it certainly doesn't work well with the leader spiles here, the small ones with that large hole, because that definitely, wind's going to take that bag and blow half of them off. So I ended up with a little smaller hole here, and then I slotted it, and with that slot on there, that really keeps them on and does the job on those things. So a lot of ways you can work with these things, but the basic idea of the hose clamp has worked out well. They come apart pretty quick. That's what it takes to slide one off. We'll leave that one back on. Yeah, otherwise, come the end of the season, you take these things off, discard your bags if you want to, recycle them somehow. Otherwise, what I've done quite a bit is taken these bags and rinse them out with water, tip them upside down, hang them on a clothesline or a line like that. Use some clamps, wood clamps or something that you've got. Clothespins usually aren't strong enough to do that, and they'll drain out pretty well, and that seems to work out good. That's kind of an interesting bag on this one. I should say actually a hole in the PVC, 2-inch PVC pipe, because that's definitely not going to fit that spile there, and I'll show you what was going on there. Taking a small spile, this one actually uses 11/64 point, I think like 1/6 or so is the 11/64 bit. And it's very small. We call it a micro spile. They were available a number of years back. I don't think you can get these anymore. Stainless steel. And the idea was you would tap these into the tree, and then you hook your 5/16 drop line on just like this to them. So I wasn't using them for that. I was actually using them on some smaller trees that we had in the bush, because we had a shear wind came down and blew down, I think, 3/4 of our main bush. So I was end up tapping quite a few smaller trees. I didn't want to go in with, of course, with a 7/16 or even the 5/16 on those small 5/6" trees. So I was using these micro spiles. Tap that into the tree then, and what we do is we'd hang this bag on here, just like this. The thing is, sometimes these things were too short in here. They'd end up drizzling down the side of this thing on the outside, so I ended up putting a short piece of tubing like this, 5/16 line over it, and with that on there, I could adjust that so it would drip down into the bag. So, and these worked out, really well for the smaller trees. So, pretty happy with those.